my digital artifact, I chose to discuss Solar Cup, which is a club I was in junior and senior year of high school with a bunch of friends. And so, Solar Cup entails the construction and racing of solar powered boats. And I spent about 40 hours a week on this for around 10 months. So, it's a big thing in my junior and senior. One of the first things we did was to pick our parts. So, this is two charts we used to compare batteries and motors. And we chose the Odyssey ER40 battery and the ME0907 brushless motor. And we did that after a lot of research. So the next thing we did was to finalize our layout. As you can see, we have three solar panels. And as the caption says, the motor and battery are housed under that middle panel. And the skipper is the driver. And in total length, this would be a 16-foot long canoe. So it was actually a really big project. And this is a picture of one of my friends and one of the people who run the program working on our new hull in November of last year. No, November 2 years ago. And so we decided to rebuild the hull because we had some problems with the old one. And you can see the old hull in the background. And it was actually lopsided. So we built the new one, which is pictured in front. And obviously it's not completely finished. We still have to drill holes for various components, sand it, seal it, paint it, and do a bunch of work on it. And so after all of that work, my hands would typically look like this, just covered in filth. And because I have a habit of rubbing my chin while I'm thinking, the lower half of my face would get dirty as well, and it would look like I had a beard. So that's what I was known for. We then decided to set up our solar, which is obviously a big part of this because it's literally called Solar Cup. And so pictured in this is the solar controller, which is the silver thing, and it regulates voltage and current running to the batteries, so you don't overcharge your batteries, which is bad. And then a display that was mounted on our dashboard that shows you how much the panel's outputting. And so this is one of those panels, and the panels are actually flexible, so we decided to mount them to a PVC framework. And this is shown in the old hull, just because we weren't ready to mount things in the new hull yet because it was still being worked on. And then after that, people were working on our drivetrain. So we went with a direct drive, as you can see. This entails a motor running directly into a drive shaft instead of having a gear and chain in the way, which would be a transmission. So, yeah. So this is a picture of what the motor looks like mounted in the boat with all of the components. And so as you can see, it's crooked. And I got really mad after that because I had spent a lot of time measuring and designing these components only to have someone very sloppily install them. And this is just another picture of them doing things incorrectly. This is a picture of the thrust bearing, and it's actually mounted like backwards. So the thrust bearing is supposed to keep the force off your motor so it doesn't break the motor. Here, it's actually doing nothing, and it's just making a lot of noise. So this is a picture of the main circuit that runs from the batteries into the motor and through all the controllers and everything. And so I spent a lot of time with this because this was my main project. And so much so that I actually drew that from memory weeks after I've had to use it. And so this is a picture of the chaos that was the initial wiring of everything. See, wires are going everywhere and there's extras and random crap. But I was just testing to see if all the components were working properly and if we needed to buy more wire and whatnot. And so this is what it looks like after I've done a lot of cleaning up and actually installed everything properly. So it looks very nice and orderly, which was my main goal, was to make sure everything was nice. No wires were crossing, and we had as short wires as possible to limit the resistance of the wires. And so this is a picture of one of the electrical components. It's called a solenoid, and running in front of it is the small silver wire with a plastic cylinder on it. And I actually did wired this incorrectly, and that diode, which is the black cylinder, is installed the wrong way. And when I first tried to start this up, it burst into flames and almost started a small fire. So another one of the many electrical hazards is this foot throttle, which shocked me a few times and was a giant pain in the ass to install. I actually had to move it 2 or 3 times just because it was really awkward to use. And speaking of those shocks, I probably electrocuted myself a good 5 or 6 times, maybe more, during this entire thing, because I was dealing with a good 150 to 130 amps, which is pretty significant, running at 24 volts. And that was enough to cause nerve damage in my right arm and right hand. But after all of this hard work and injury, we ended up with a great finished product. And we actually got it out on a local reservoir, and that's me driving it. And there's a lot of pride in that moment, knowing that I'd worked on something that actually worked. However, we still had some problems, and this is a bilge pump. And the reason I'm discussing this is because the person who drove right after me flooded the boat, and the bilge pump is designed that if water gets above a certain level, it starts pumping water out. And so this was important because it flooded, and it actually saved us from having a sink. And so these are a bunch of the people who I worked with. I yelled at a bunch of them, but we're all still friends. I still talk to all of them. We hung out during winter break. So a few of them I didn't know before this project.